How are you guys? So, first, let me, well, happy New Year, first of all. And, thank you for talking to me about this powerful project. I had the chance to watch it the other day for the first time, and I was surprised about a lot of things, visually, the narrative, the story, the acting, direction, everything, how relevant it is, and which brings me to my first question. I believe this Antebellum film is based on a short story. Tell me a little bit about this story and how did it inspire you to develop your first feature film?
Well, we're so excited to be here with you today. First of all, but yes, the short story was from a nightmare that I had that was so vivid that I ended up being so moved by the nightmare. I felt like Eden, the woman in it, was trying to communicate with me from across dimensions for help. And I know that that might sound a little new age or crazy, but I get a lot of inspiration from my dreams, and I feel like the ancestors speak to us there. So anyway, at first I thought that it was an SOS from the past, but increasingly I'm starting to believe that it was an SOS from the future. But we got to Chris and I the next day, put pen to paper, wrote the short story without any real intention at that time of making it into a film. We were working on some other projects, but it ended up that we met Zev Foreman, who became the lead producer on the project. He was the producer behind Dallas Buyers Club. He fell in love with the short story. He encouraged us to write the script. We wrote the script, and the rest is history.
Oh, interesting. So it got, well, it was interesting to me the fact that it is much more than a horror film, but it happened to explore the horrors that were experienced during the slavery era or years. Why do you think that some people were somehow confused with the trailer versus the actual movie? Was that intentional?
Well, it's difficult with this story specifically, not to give it away, and the trailer served as a little bit of a distraction away from what it actually was. Ideally, folks would go and see the film and not having seen any trailer or any promotional material. And that's how we love to go into films. We saw Parasite that way, and it was just so incredible.
We are less is more. We believe in like that 70s way of doing things where the trailer was very minimalist and didn't tell you really anything, and leaving it at that. If you're interested, then you go see the movie. Antebellum was best seen with having as little information about it as possible and just going in and experiencing the movie. But at the end of the day, there's a huge marketing machine behind the things that you do with the studio, and we don't have a lot of control over that.
Okay. Thank you for that. So you guys come from directing music videos, PSAs, and other projects. How did you agree to direct a project with a topic as strong and intense as this one? And who brought, in addition to your nightmare, how was the process to bring it to the big screen, and how you all connected to bring your vision to the screen?
We've been working together and life partners for the past 12 years. So we spent 10 years prior to Antebellum honing our skills collectively and individually as writers and filmmakers. So although we were doing PSAs for Harry Belafonte and Conservation USA and Priorities USA, and even the music visuals that we did, whether it was Maxwell's The Glass House, we were dealing with nuclear war and nuclear apocalypse. All of our work has a tendency to, I'll leave it to what other people have called it, hauntingly beautiful. That sounds self-aggrandizing, but it can be disturbing. But at the same time, we do not in any way shy from provocative subjects. So it made perfect sense to us to rattle people out of the sleepwalk of complacency and thinking that the democracy in America is not a living, breathing thing that requires ongoing and constant vigilance and maintenance. And so the stories that we want to tell, starting with Antebellum on the big screen, they all start from a place to say, there are a whole host of really urgent issues that we need to confront. And we're not going to achieve that by creating something that is milquetoast. We need to create something that rattles you, that wakes you from the sleepwalk. We're not here to create something that sedates. We're here to create something that wakes you up.
So talking about provocation, and that's exactly what happened with me with this film. It has intense and shocking sequences. Were you inspired by other films to reach the impact on these sequences, because it brought back memories of films or projects like Roots, even 12 Years a Slave?
Well, I mean, you can't, 12 Years a Slave and Roots, you can't help but, if you're going to talk about enslaved people or the history of slavery in America, and you are going to not whitewash the truth of the thing that happened, then you're going to have to get really uncomfortable with being you're going to have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable, which means that, the brutality of it, if we didn't at least, and by the way, I don't think, if you look at, there are a lot of other films that are far more brutal in their depictions of slavery than Antebellum. I mean, Antebellum, a lot of what we've done with the film is even off camera. But I think that we would be serving as co-conspirators in the erasure of our own collective history if we didn't lean into the truth of what happened to enslaved people in America, and how it is still rearing its ugly head in our society, every crevice and corner of this country.
Interesting. I have two more questions if I had the time. You both, let's talk about you guys for a minute. You both represent a new voice or a new generation of filmmakers or artists that already are in the same conversation of names like Spike Lee, Jordan Peele. You also have worked with Harry Belafonte, Jay-Z. How do you feel when you're included in this select group of talented artists that are not afraid to tackle important issues as racism, inequality, diversity, etc.?
We have a big responsibility to everyone that came before us, that even made it possible for us to have a seat at the table to tell these stories. It is a great honor to be able to make something that millions of people see. For us to be included in conversations with Spike Lee or Jay-Z, those conversations, I think, are not warranted yet. I think that we have to earn our position in those places, and we are determined to make our presence known and to present a very unique form of storytelling to the movie-going audience that hopefully they will find really exciting for years to come, and that will stir much needed conversations around these really urgent issues that we need to confront as a people.
This is only our first film, so we've got more coming.
We've got Rapture, our big movie Rapture, which is going to be a big epic film with Lionsgate. We just closed a deal with HBO for our first series, which is like Black Surfers meets the apocalypse.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I was reading about it. And I felt like, wow, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got to talk. As soon as all this stuff continues unfolding, we want to be able to come back and have conversations with you ongoing. But we're really excited and also tremendously grateful that we are in a position in the middle of a global pandemic when so many people are just trying to keep a roof over their heads and trying to keep themselves from getting sick. we are really grateful that we have had and have this opportunity to put this art out and for us to be a part of the conversation.
Excellent. Just one last question. How do you, I have always been intrigued by how the dynamics are when there's two directors working on the same project, because it could lead to losing not only control, but somehow the overall vision of the project. How do you distribute your tasks or responsibilities while directing a film as big as this or your next projects? And with this, I'm done.
we don't distribute the responsibilities. We're physically with each other throughout the entire production. It really wouldn't work any other way for us.
When we first started with Antebellum, you know, there was so much that we didn't know. I mean, we've been together and working together for 12 years. We finish each other's sentences. We speak a telepathic language. But when they told us that we had to be approved by the Directors Guild of America, which is very, very difficult, because the Directors Guild of America is one director, one vision. So unbeknownst to us, when we walked in, it was like walking into the United Nations, and we were surrounded by all of these formidable directors. And it was Seth Rogen who sat up and said, if those guys are not a directing duo, I don't know who is. And we were approved unanimously by the Directors Guild of America.
They very rarely approve duos.
Right, that's what I was saying. And so then it's, you know, Janelle bought us she bought us t-shirts, the entire crew, for Antebellum. She bought t-shirts that said 2 directors, 1 vision.
Ooh, excellent.
Wow. How, you know, who we are as filmmakers.
Great.
So really, you know, we speak a telepathic language. We're also human beings. We're gonna, you know, one tenet that we live by is that whoever is the most passionate about a thing in the debate as it relates to creative for our projects is we defer to the person who feels the most passionate about that thing. But if we ever find ourselves on a rare occasion deeply entrenched in our positions, we work through it. And that's after 12 years being together and honing our skills and how to constructively resolve conflict creatively.
Well, guys, thank you so much. My time's up. Stay safe wherever you are. And again, I love the film. I personally love the film. I'm going to watch it again with my wife. I was telling her or talking to her about it last night, and I'm looking forward to your next project, because you both are incredible. So thank you very much, and stay safe wherever you are. Okay. Thank you guys.